Well, as a reporter, I also covered a lot of fights, pretty serious fights in schools. And if we have school police officers in the school, why do these fights keep occurring? And why can't police, if they are, if you are there for this purpose, why can't you mitigate some of that violence? Or what?
We do.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
I think one of the things that we, one of the areas that we get into is the fact that you really can't measure prevention. Okay? So if you come in and, you report on 2 major fights, all right? How do I give you the data to report on 6 fights that never occurred because of human intelligence that was brought to the police officer in the building, the police officer making proper notifications, engaging parents, administrators, and the students who were involved, right? And bringing that situation to a close before it escalates into a fight. And so that's one of the areas that's very difficult for us to really present to the public, because it's just very difficult to measure prevention. But I know that we are involved in a great deal of prevention within the Baltimore City Public Schools. The young man spoke about traveling to and from school. You asked a question about areas, communities around the school. Our schools are a microcosm of the things that take place in our communities, okay? So you have gangs in the communities, you have gangs that try to infiltrate the school. You have drugs in the communities, drugs make their way into the schools. As a reporter, you know that. We have violence in the communities. It's made its way into our schools. We've had homicides, and unfortunately, it has made its way into our schools. We are there to do the best we can to prevent these types of things from happening. Now, when we see that there is a need based on information that you have provided, information that we gather on our own, that there is a need for us to adjust to things that we do, how we deliver our services, then we have to make those adjustments. And as leaders within the community and within the police department, we have a responsibility to make those adjustments. And I can tell you that the stakeholders, the principals, the administrators, many parents, and a large number of students, right, have opposed school police being taken out of schools. When you're at ground zero, so to speak, right, where education takes place, where you're dealing with the climate, and I'm not necessarily saying a bad climate. Listen, Montgomery County Schools has police resource officers. Baltimore County Schools have resource officers. These officers don't check their guns at the door, and they do not experience nearly the level of violence in the communities that surround their schools that we are experiencing in Baltimore City. And so I say all these things to say that where we need to make a change and adjustments, we have to take ownership, and we have to make those changes and adjustments. A lot of our students who come to school, when they leave school, they immediately go into a survival mode for a multitude of reasons. That survival mode causes several things. It causes retention of the information that they may have received that day. It may distract them from accomplishing things that they need to do at home that are educationally based. And then they stay in that survival mode, many of them, not all, but many of them stay in that survival mode until they walk back through the doors of the school.
But when you see the video, all you can say is that they're experiencing the same thing from the school police that they're experiencing.
That is not all. I would submit to you that is not all that you can say. What you can say is that you saw a video. That's what you can say, okay? And I would no more allow one video about any situation, right? I wouldn't allow a video about a news reporter, right, who committed some act that may not be consistent with what we've seen from all news reporters, define every news reporter.
But are you saying there's a context in which that video, what he did was justified?
I'm not saying that it was justified. Okay. I'm saying to you that I would no more view any action or any behavior, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's reasonable.
That is an anomaly. Here's why I'm saying it's an anomaly. Unless you tell me that you're seeing videos like that on a consistent basis, all right? If the students are telling me that they see videos like that on a consistent basis, then I would say that if the news was reporting videos like that on a consistent basis, then I would say that that's a norm. But I would say that this is an exception. I would say that this is an anomaly.
Let me turn to the students. Is that what you saw, that video, was that anomalous behavior? Was that unusual behavior, or is that something you see? I mean, I've asked you this before, but do you agree that that behavior was something that was very, unusual?
Not at all. It's not unusual. We see it in different.
With school police officers.
Right. It may not be caught on film. Every incident may not be caught on film, but there are incidents in schools where police are abusing the child or they're doing something with the child. It's just not exposed as much as that one was.
So how do you answer that?
I would disagree.
You disagree?
Yeah, I would disagree.
And from the perspective of the fraternal order police and as leaders within our police department, if that's going on, we invite members of the public or students to reach out to us and say, this is what I saw, this needs to be investigated, and we will make sure that it gets in the proper hands.
Do you feel as a student, if you witness something, that if you go to the school police, that they'll take it seriously? If you say, hey, officer so-and-so, hit me, and I'm upset about it, do you feel like you have a place to go with that complaint where you won't have to worry about retribution or any sort, or even being taken seriously?
Well, I believe you can take it to them, but it all depends on them. Depending on the relationship with the head of the officer and the officer that committed the abuse or whatever, that will determine the outcome. To be honest with you, I think if I come to them and say an officer hit me, they may listen to it, but that don't mean they're going to do anything about it. There are situations where someone had reported something to the principal. The principal told the head of the officer one time, and then the officer came back the next day like nothing happened. He suffered no consequences or anything.
Well, I want to ask this question to both of you, and then I'll turn it over to you. What future, how do you, given the evidence, that police in school does lead to more criminalization and what you've seen, but of course the officers say they're protecting you, what role do you want to see school police, if any, play in your education going forward?
What role? Can you start?
Yeah, I mean, what role, if any? Do you think we need police in schools? Do you think it's time to rethink that idea?
So we don't have problems with police being in the schools. Mm-hmm. Our problem is just, no guns in schools. Police, I think they're meant that we need police in schools just for our protection and our safety. But the guns is put a fear in the students like, oh, we don't know anytime they can just pull the trigger, no matter what the case may be. And bullets don't have no name, so it can accidentally shoot an innocent person if they're trying to target someone else.
Darius, what do you think? I mean, do you think we still need to have police officers in schools? And if so, in what role?
I mean, I think we do, though. Schools and police in schools, yeah. I think the gun in the school is what kind of gets me a little bit. Because like I said earlier, a gun in the wrong person's hands can change a life.
So Sergeant Boatwright, given some of the concerns you've heard, and that the video does depict something that people have agreed is disturbing, what do you say to parents and students who have concerns about police role in school and going forward, what you're going to do to sort of assuage that concern?
Well, in 1991, the Maryland State Legislature felt as though that security in Baltimore City schools needed to be elevated to police. That was done by the Maryland General Assembly. And with that, I mean, if you look back at the history of our department, in 1967, the school safety division was started in Baltimore City in 1967. But moving forward, our schools had to change along with the times of our city. So what I would submit to the parents and students, an unarmed police officer is no different than a security officer. And security officers / hall monitors have their role. That's not a shot at them. Mm-hmm. They have their role. But when you say police have to be the keeper of the peace and the one that will step in between you and danger. And you can't step in between danger and a student or danger and a staff member without having the proper tools to equip yourself to do the job.
So, Jennifer, what do you say to students or parents who are concerned, who see this violence on behalf of a school police officer and say, we don't want police in the school?
So as a parent of students who have graduated from Baltimore City Public Schools, as a parent who still has 2 children in public schools, I understand what the concerns are. I also understand that there have been a number of people, and I'm going to say a small number of people, who have created this boogeyman effect about a school police officer being armed. Listen, my teenage son goes to the mall with his friends. He goes to the Towson Mall. There's never any less than 5 or 6 police officers in that mall who are armed, right? When my teenage son goes to hang out in the mall. My son has never come home and told me, you know, Dad, I really couldn't shop and I really couldn't focus on buying that T-shirt I wanted because there was a police officer in the mall, and that officer was armed. And somehow that just totally took my mind away from the task at hand, which was to have a good time with my friends and shop. He goes to the movie theater, all right? The movie theaters that he attends, there are armed police officers in the movie theater. Now, he's just going there to get a box of popcorn and enjoy a movie. Never has he come home and said to me, Dad, I really couldn't enjoy the movie because all I continued to think about was that cop in the lobby that had that gun on, and I really couldn't. So I think what we have to do is we have to put things in perspective. We have to identify agenda, all right? And we have to match those things, and we have to contrast those things with good, prudent decisions. And it's prudent to continue to protect the students of Baltimore City Public Schools. And I would submit to you in closing that the students of Baltimore City deserve no less protection than the students in the other 24 school systems around the state of Maryland.
Because we have to wrap up, Darrell, I want to give you last word. Anything you want to say in response to what the officer said?
Well, I just want to say you cannot compare, you know, your life outside of school to your life in the school. In-school police have a certain role, and the function of school police does not need a gun. They meet now the function of outside of regular police. Of course, they need a gun because there's potential danger anywhere you go. The mall, there's danger. The movies, there's danger. But in school, I don't think they need a gun.
Okay. Well, listen, I really appreciate this discussion. It's been very enlightening, and I appreciate you sharing your insights. Okay. Thank you. Hopefully, I'll be back soon. My name is Stephen Janis, and I'm a reporter for the Real News Network in Baltimore.